And then, I got Eric Debunks going, see, bounding into comics was always like this. And he's right.
Hey Bears, Eric here. And yes, you heard that right. That was EVS, Ethan Van Sciver, saying that I was right about bounding into comics. And I'm right about all of these outlets that do the same thing that bounding into comics does. I've been right all along. Ethan, you had to know I was going to clip this. You had to know I was going to talk about this. So let me paint a picture for you before we watch the clip and I give you guys my thoughts on this. So Cider Hype here on Twitter has been going after Ethan, EVS, for, I guess, a couple weeks now, maybe longer than that. And it seems like it was started by Cider, maybe possibly. I didn't see anything from Ethan like going after bounding into comics or anything until this all happened. And this is a picture, an AI image of Ethan with Vito in the background. And this is one of a few that I guess Cider made. Cider's connected with bounding into comics, which is also connected with JDA and that community. And they don't like a comic book creator named Liam Gray. Now, I don't know a lot about Liam, but I do know that Ethan was helping Liam promote, I believe, the second run of his comic book, Dino King. And apparently that made these guys angry. And so it seems like they've been picking at EVS for a bit and, obviously making fun of them and stuff like that. And Ethan got into a back and forth with them on Twitter. They were accusing Ethan of being part of a whisper network, accusing him of siding with people just because of their dislike of other content creators, things like that. Pretty much guilt by association stuff, which I believe is sort of what my community, the more liberal, like left portion of the community, more progressive part, depending on how you look at it, depending on where you're coming from, I guess, we get accused of these tactics of like, claiming people have guilt by association. Here you have somebody affiliated with bounding into comics saying that about EVS here. And we see more and more people in this sort of conservative space are doing things that they accused SJWs of doing. It seems like a lot of that SJW behavior that we were all responsible for, the progressives on social media, we're seeing that happen inside like this other community. It's happening with feuding factions, you might say. So let's watch the clip where EVS talks about this in detail and then says that I'm right. Again, you had to know I was going to clip this, Ethan. Let's watch the clip.
And what it is it's us showing you what he's saying and doing in public, contradicting him, showing his lies, explaining how he's wrong about everything like that. And if that hurts Eric, well, that's his problem. But we are doing that here visibly in public. I don't need to do. I'm not Yellow Flash. I'm not Nerdrotic. I'm not Eric July. I'm none of these guys. I don't have to work in back rooms and whisper and lie and try to organize people to do things that I want them to do to hurt my enemies. I don't have to do that. I have the truth on my side, and I just say it here in public.
This was the accusation that Ethan and people around Ethan have been sort of strong-arming people in the independent scene when it comes to working with Eric July or working for Eric July because of something that Shane Davis and Ethan said about, like, they know who Eric July would be talking to if Eric were hiring independent people. And so it kind of is a situation where, again, it's just accusatory things about EVS where, just really depends on how you look at the clip and how your predisposition about all of this. That's what he's refuting here.
I've always been, that's what Trashcast is. The reason Trashcast exists is because we don't do backroom shit. We don't do that. We don't do whisper network shit. We say what we need to say and we tell the truth here in public, and we try to keep things as transparent as possible so that the people can decide. Otherwise, things get murky. People have their own opinions about things. And it gets kind of wacky. This is freedom. This is something that we do here. We tell the truth.
And this is the thing, is that a lot of people have been accusing EVS of drama farming, which I find it kind of funny. This is not in defense of like EVS or anything like that, but like this whole community on YouTube sort of drama farms, right? I mean, we all partake in drama farming. But seeing them go after EVS, because it came to my attention that we were streaming earlier today, that Bounding into Comics has used EVS as a source of information up until like the end of last year. I think September, October of 2023. So they have been using EVS as a source of information for a lot of the stuff on their website. So it's kind of like a heel turn for them to go after EVS now. because of guilt by association, I guess, at this point. But this is priceless. It really is. Like, I couldn't, as someone who has not liked bounding into comics for a really long time, you couldn't have a better example of their standards. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
And we try to expose what's going on. So if something's going on and people have questions, this is what I said to Cider Hype. I said, you work for Bounding into Comics. How could you be so dishonest? You work so...
How could you be so dishonest? That entire podcast, that entire group has been dishonest for years, Ethan. They just have. And I'm not talking about like what you believe or what somebody else believes. It's just literally they're a bunch of liars. They've been lying and making stuff up for a long time to get outrage clicks. It's what they do.
You work for a conservative pop culture media outlet, one of 3. There aren't too many of them, dude.
There's like 4 or 5 of them.
How can you be so dishonest in public like this? If you think that me and Shane are doing what you think we're doing, we need to be exposed. And by the way, my DMs are open, and you can invite me to interview me about this and say, what exactly did you mean by this? And when I stutter and stammer and don't have a good answer and it doesn't make sense, then you can say, see, caught you, this guy's scheming.
Well, they're not going to invite you in because that would break the illusion, Ethan. Like, this is something we've complained about for a while, is that they create a narrative and they don't want to deviate from whatever that is. So if the narrative is that Ethan has a whisper network, Ethan is bullying other creators, Ethan is doing all of these things behind the scenes, they don't have to prove anything. All they have to do is say it to the people who are following them, and those people will just run with that information. They don't want to bring you on because then you would refute what they're saying to their base. And then their base would have to think twice about trusting them as a source of information in the future. So they have no incentive to bring you on because it would simply just ruin the facade that they've created.
When you make this public and all these people come forward with proof, they have DMs or texts or whatever, phone calls from me saying, night letters saying, don't work for Eric July. You can find all this. Then you write an article for Bounding into Comics and expose me. But you work for a media outlet, dude. Don't do this.
They don't need any of that, though. That's another issue. They don't need any proof of anything. They never have. Been saying this for a long time.
Don't do things that are embarrassing. Like Bleeding Cool has more responsibility than this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You spread this garbage out here because you're mad that Liam Gray's campaign is doing good, you piece of garbage.
It's because they're not journalists. It's all personal to them. They're propagating stuff. So it's all personal. The guys that do this have no integrity. They have no backbone. They have no morals. They have no ethics. This is the kind of stuff they've been doing for a moment. And it's really interesting that they're going after someone like yourself, someone like EVS in the space, considering the platform that you have and the amount of times they've used you as a source for their articles.
Liam Gray's Dino King is experiencing a little success, and that makes you feel kind of angry because you want Liam Gray to suffer. You see him buying toys, so you spread rumors and gossip, try to make people think that we're doing things that we're not doing. You're just like Renfamous. No, you're just like Renfamous. You are behaving like Renfamous. That's what Renfamous did. This Heather Anto shit, spreading lies. I am here. If you think I'm up to no good about anything, you can ask me directly. I will answer you. And if my answers don't make sense or you have contradictory evidence, that's great.
But they won't. We've already established this. They don't have anything. I mean, even if they did, they don't, there's no incentive to have you come on for a gotcha when they don't need a gotcha for the people that support them to continue to support them. And if they ever do write an article about you, other people will run with that. They'll just use it to continue to spread the lies about you. Stuff they've done about other people in the industry for many years.
Expose me. But starting these lies and then running away from me, as I say to you, I'm right here. If you have a question, I'm right here. How can I help you? Are you being helped? You're a part of the conservative pop culture media, you fucking piece of shit. Stop embarrassing us. It's embarrassing.
Here goes the fun part.
Fucking disastrous. And then, I got Eric the Bunks going, see, Bounding into Comics was always like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right.
I'm right. All right, cool.
Eric the Bunk is a leftist who's been saying Bounding into Comics is shit and full of just like bad journalism and stuff like that. And then you do this in front of him. And Eric the Bunks was like, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. What am I supposed to say to that? I'm just like, No, they aren't, Eric. You're wrong.
Mhm.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, I have to admit that I didn't expect for this to happen with the cider hype bounding into comics and Ethan. I didn't see this coming, to be honest. I know the backstory about like JDA not liking Liam and his connection with cider and then with bounding into comics, but this went far beyond that. But this is what I've been saying, a lot of people in this space have been saying for a while, is that sites like bounding into comics, they don't need the truth. They never have needed the truth. All they need is the narrative and the culture. And if you have those two things, and you've earned the trust of the people that are going to your site because of commentators using their site so often as a source for information, they don't need to talk to me. They don't need to talk to EVS. They don't need to talk to actors. They don't need any of that. That is all irrelevant stuff. The truth is absolutely irrelevant to them. Now, whether or not Ethan is guilty of any of the stuff they're accusing Ethan of, it doesn't matter to them. And Ethan is probably going to have to continue to fight about this because they're going to keep saying it. He's going to keep denying it, and it's just going to be a cycle until I guess we get to some sort of ahead of this. But yeah, I mean, this is, I couldn't have asked, honestly, and Ethan, again, I didn't know I was going to clip this. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect example of the way bounding into comics operates. This was exactly what I've been saying about them for a while.